today I've asked Jacob to share some of his experiences, the ups and downs that have happened in the industry over the last 20 some years that you've been doing this, and talk about maybe the early years, how you've adapted, some of the technology that you're using to adapt. So without further ado, I give you Jacob Moon. Everyone just mute your mics, please. Thank you.
Oh, how do you do that?
Yeah, right? Exactly. Well, hey, everybody. My name is Jacob Moon, and I'm thrilled to be with you guys here today. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I've been doing this, I guess, probably for now it's been 25 years, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I started when I was 12, but no, I mean, I was, for me, it was a labor of love. It's always been something that I've wanted to do, is to be a singer-songwriter. And I learned early on from people like Peter Gabriel and Todd Rundgren, that the life of the singer-songwriter involves more than just writing songs. It involves innovating and looking at where the future is going and trying to go there. I'm nowhere near those two gentlemen in terms of their accomplishments in technology, in recording techniques, all that stuff. But it's just sort of more of a spirit that you pick up early on, that you don't have to do things the way that everybody else is doing them. You can do them in your own way, you can innovate in your own way, and you can do things unconventionally sometimes. And so, I mean, I get thought of as kind of a singer-songwriter, but I put a lot of energy and attention into my live performances, and I try to bring technology to bear on what I do as a live performer. And so I think in that sense, it's sort of a little different. I mean, maybe all performers are entertainers, but I think some people interpret that job as differently than others. And so I guess when I see the job of an entertainer, I think it's to provide lots of variety to an audience while kind of maintaining a core of kind of integrity and authenticity in what you're presenting. And it's, keeping people on their toes and giving them a kind of a, I laughed, I cried, it was better than Cats kind of experience, although we have to change that. We have to change that phrase now that Cats has actually come out as a movie. The history for me, when I started out, I mean, y'all are kind of young folks, and you can't imagine maybe, making music in any time but the one that you're in. But let me cast your mind back for a moment to the 90s, a decade that maybe many of you don't know, by direct experience. But it was a time of great change, of course, and the history books will reveal this, that was really the time that artists started en masse kind of starting to think about how to produce and sell their own recordings. To do this, there was only one book that you could buy, and one person I forget her name, but she wrote this book called How to Make and Sell Your Own Recording. And I remember buying that book and going through it meticulously, and it was a very excellent handbook about how to do it. And it's a fun thing to read in this day and age. When you look at it, it's sort of quaint and out of date and all kinds of stuff. But a lot of the core principles still hold true today. The idea that you've got to kind of create a product, you've got to find the funding for the product, you've got to find your manufacturer, you've got to, and more and more we're moving away from physical sales today. But back then, that was the game. If you could make a physical product, a consumable that the general public would accept, in this case it was CDs, tapes were kind of on the way out, vinyl was kind of pretty much done. So CDs, that was it. If you could make a CD of your own and sell it, people would buy it because that's how they consume music, completely unanimously. And so I started in 1993 by recording my own record, not in a studio, but by having guys who had sort of like, I guess, ADAT machines, these sort of big kind of VHS looking tapes or whatever, and then sometimes they get smaller or whatever, depending on the brand that you bought. But we would kind of set up a board at my local church when they weren't using it, and I would go in there and I would record drums and bass and vocals and acoustic guitar, and we tracked an entire album's worth of songs, and over the course of maybe 3 or 4 months, just guerrilla style, you know, which is still something, of course, people do today. But back then, it really wasn't done. You tended to go into a studio and pay for that time. But that could be $100 an hour, you know what I mean? $75 an hour, which I just didn't have that money. I was just coming off of university. I just finished my, what you guys are doing now, my musical education, and I was broke. I had no money. And I was just like, man, I got to do this another way. And so I sold it to everybody that I knew. Every single person got a CD, and I wanted their $20. And I was just probably insufferable for a period of 6 months there while I was trying to pay off the thing. I think I sold 500 copies of it. It's called On the Trail, and don't look for it. It doesn't exist anymore. But that's kind of how I started thinking about recording, was that I was going to do it myself. I was going to do it however it needed to be done to get done, and I was going to get it to my people. And that's always been kind of my sort of mantra, is just basically, you know, make the best music I can, you know, find the fans who will support it, and you know, learn more about those fans and what they like and what they don't like, where they go, and try and build a community around this music and serve them with the music that I make. And when you kind of complete that that sort of you know, a list of things to do, you at the end you find that actually the positivity and the generosity that you're giving out is coming back to you, because you've created this symbiotic relationship with your fans, and you kind of feed off their energy, and they feed off the creativity and output that you're putting out there as well. So I'm going to do a song, and then we're going to talk. I'm going to answer some questions. So be ready with your questions, ready to engage, and if you have anything that you've needed advice on, or you just kind of have questions about any of the stuff that I've said so far. But I'm going to kind of be getting into the after that, and getting into more of the history of the technological changes that have gone on since I started making music back in the 90s. One of the changes was I started live looping. A lot of guys live loop, and it's just kind of another pedal. It's just what you do with it. It's what the creativity that you bring to it. I'm using a Boss RC300 today, which allows you to track 3 different tracks independently. And I'm also using a guitar that has 2 outputs. So there's kind of like, there's an electric output and there's an acoustic output. And yeah, so we're gonna give this one a shot, just like this. This is called The Great Beyond. Don't feel like the edge of the universe. Looking down, now you get it, feel the spin in your head. It's like an insane urge to jump out of this skin, to jump out of this skin. When you fall, when you feel it all, when your feet touch ground, when your soul take flight like you're in it all your life to the outward bound. To see what no one sees, touch the mystery. Hey, can you see me now? Growing smaller and going over something deep inside me is leading me on into the great beyond. You hear the sound of the cars and you know where you are, where you've always been. In a world of space and time, don't you find that it pulls you in? a piece of heaven that I never had an explanation for. 'Cause everything that is